Well, I'm disappointed but not surprised. Hey, this is GatorXL and LEGO Pokémon has leaked. This is the second channel, so we're allowed to talk about stuff like this. But point is, we've got some pictures of the new sets coming out for LEGO Pokémon, and it's interesting. So I will say that definitely when we first heard about this line, when it was first revealed, I wasn't generally too positive about it. Them being like, yeah, aside from just there being a Kanto Pokemon, I don't necessarily think that's an issue right now. My issue was that these are big sets and they were statuettes mostly. The Eevee is posable. I think the Pikachu is sort of posable, but it's a big chunk of plastic and it comes with, the stand. And then, not to mention this monstrosity here with the Kanto starters being like, what, $600-700 or whatever. I saw someone refer to this as display slop, which is a whole other thing going on with LEGO right now. But I will say that definitely, I don't think this was the right place to start off with LEGO Pokemon, maybe as an introductory thing, and then you can have like playsets, and that is more or less what we're getting, playsets, but still, they're a little funky. So obviously LEGO operates with minifigures and plastic blocks and so on, and I think generally when you have a line coming out, you would want it to be minifigure scale, because then it's compatible with everything else that has come before. That's the beauty of LEGO, is that you can mix and match things, and I'm not saying that everybody's going to be a stickler about scale, right? But I think generally when you introduce a set like this, right, these more brick-built Pokemon, these very rounded designs, and, the more bricky posing of them, or posing shape of them, I don't necessarily think is an issue, because it does set it apart from other things, and it does kind of make it look nice and all. But the thing is that they're kind of taking a similar approach to Mega Bloks, and even then, when Mega Bloks had the Pokemon license, some of their stuff was good and some of them wasn't really. So for one thing, obviously you might notice we got a big old yellow thing here, and that is because it is utilizing Smart Play, which is a whole thing, and I think it's cut off on my preview here, but Smart Play in LEGO. And that's a whole other rabbit hole if you don't happen to know, if you're Pokemon only and don't know LEGO. But basically Smart Play is this stuff that they've got with LEGO, in that they launched it with LEGO Star Wars. It's like an extra little brick that plays sounds associated with the sets, and they're like really clunky, and generally, Star Wars fans are not really into this, and even I think general LEGO fans probably aren't going to be getting it, because a lot of the electronics implemented in it raises the price, and they generally don't look as cool as the standard LEGO Star Wars sets. So that's a whole thing, and from my experience, at least, as someone who shops, I see these on the shelves all the time. And, even with Pokemon, actually, I was just at Target today, and they had a full shelf of the Pikachu and the Eevee. Nobody was buying them, probably because, maybe because of the price, but also because, like, sure, there's a brick build Eevee here, sure, for $60, but right down the aisle, you can get a little, I don't know, an Eevee figurine or an Eevee plush for much less. And, it's also potentially more you can do with it. Rather than, like, yes, you can build it, and building's a whole experience, and you can mix and match it with other LEGO stuff, but generally I think a standalone toy is a little more attractive to your general person, or your general kid. But point is, right, so now we've got playsets coming into LEGO, and they're utilizing Smart Play. So what I was saying again with it taking a Mega Bloks approach is that they're brick built Pokemon, and there's all this stuff here, and like, I'm gonna be super honest, all this stuff doesn't matter, because like, sure, you got Gengar here and you got Cubone, and that's kind of cool, but then look, you have like this build here, which I guess is sort of supposed to be a grave and a little tree here, and targets, right, they want you to play with it, they want you, I don't know, throw the Pokeball at the target and it interacts with it in some sort of way, and that's neat. And then there's also the option of the Smart Play, which again is going to have a little brick with a speaker, and it's going to play sounds associated with things in the set, which you can kind of see here that it says add a Smart Play brick. So these aren't going to come with the Smart Play bricks, because that's going to increase the price. So at the very least, I think generally these are going to be affordable. But what really is the draw to this, aside from LEGO? Sure, yes, like I said, you can mix and match stuff, but if it's not necessarily fully minifigure scale, then I think that reduces some of the incentive. They're about the same size as the Mario stuff, the LEGO Mario, so you can kind of incorporate them there. But once again, LEGO Mario, generally a shelf warmer, because it has an electronic component, because each set isn't necessarily like expansive to it, and compare that to, and I have some unopened LEGO sets here, but compare that to LEGO Sonic, which I think has been doing decently well, and compare that to LEGO Animal Crossing, which I know LEGO Animal Crossing was well received by Animal Crossing fans for being, you know, the minifigure scale stuff that you can build and, you know, put together your island. And Sonic, again, having the minifigures, and they're including a giant mech, dumb mech in that one, but I'm not saying that the minifigures are the be-all, end-all necessarily, but there's normally a draw. Again, Animal Crossing, you're incentivized to like buy multiple of them, put them together in your little town, in your little city, and look, it's a really cute thing. And on top of that, you can make the houses even better from the builds that they are, because like and you know, this doesn't even have a house in it. This is a tent build because it was on clearance, but the little houses in Animal Crossing, you know, sure, you can keep them stock out of the boxes, or you can improve them and build them and make them bigger and so on and so on. These, there isn't necessarily that incentive to do that, because like, sure, you know, once you build these, you just have them and they're there, and they're effectively a Funko Pop that you build. And, you know, I enjoy a Funko Pop or two, but I think I would rather the Gengar Funko than this. And again, you know, the Smart Play Brick is like, I'm assuming, I don't know if we have the prices for these. Actually, there was a separate one because a good amount of these were leaked beforehand. But again, you know, this little Jigglypuff one here, right? It's a little Jigglypuff. She has 2 speakers, and it does not include the Smart Brick, so it's not going to make sounds right out the box. You need to buy the add-on for it. But even then, there's going to be like, what, a $10 set maybe at most. So I can see that as a cute little thing of like, you know what, I like Jigglypuff. I'm a big fan. Jigglypuff actually translates really well to this shape. And Geodude, I guess, kind of translates well, but Charmander's head is like super blocky, so I could see that. But again, I'm just yapping right now. That's what we do on this channel. But what I'm saying is that yeah, I didn't finish my thought about the builds. Is that they're really nothing. Yes, this one's a little interactive with I don't know, a game you can play by throwing the Pokeball and hitting the targets. This one launches a disc, but overall, I think you would do a lot better to just sell these little guys by themselves for a bit in, you know, the little builds, if they're going to be builds of Pokemon. Say again, if you were to take a minifigure scale and you have your little Charmander minifigure, your little Geodude minifigure, or maybe not minifigures, but little plastic builds, and then you can include 2 human trainers alongside them, right? Because this very obviously could have been an Ash Ketchum and a Brock minifigure. And I'm not saying, you know, bring those guys back, because we're far past Ash and Brock, but for the sake of nostalgia, which is obviously what we're capitalizing on here with all the Generation 1 Pokemon, right? Not being the allegations. Look, there's Gengar, there's Charmander. So point is what I'm saying is that then, sure, you have your minifigures, you have your Pokemon, and then you can kind of make this battlefield a bit more expansive for the same amount of pieces that you would include in this. Sure, you know, there'd be things like the molding that you would have to use for the new stuff, and I think that is something that maybe LEGO would be a little apprehensive toward, because it's like, oh no, we got to make new molds, oh no. But generally, I think, right, all these pieces you could kind of flesh out into more of an actual battlefield. And say generally, maybe you keep it the same price, same piece count, you know, then there's 2 trainers and then 2 Pokemon in a little battlefield, and it kind of helps you build the world a little more. Same with this one, if you had kind of fleshed this out more into like a full-on cemetery, maybe not the Pokemon Tower specifically, but let's say that was the case, right? This was a half build, you know, not the full tower, because they're not going to do it, but a little like dollhouse version of it, where it's maybe open on the back. There's Pokemon Tower, you can have your Gengar, you can have your Cubone, and then you can have like 1 or 2 or 3 trainers or so, and it's a little playset on top of that. And you can still include some of these little builds in there. You can still include like, you know, hit a target, do something. You can still have that, but then that incentivizes people to buy more of them, because it's like, oh, well, let me buy the little Pewter City Gym, let me buy the Pokemon Tower from Lavender Town, and you can start to build out your little Lego city. And same with this, right? Jigglypuff, again, this Jigglypuff is like kind of a nothing build. You know, why does Jigglypuff never has speakers? Jigglypuff always has like a handheld microphone, at least in the anime, but, you know, to flesh out the build, you gotta add the speakers, you gotta add the mic on the stand. But let's say this was maybe, you know, you could build out a full stage a little better. You could have your little Jigglypuff, and then you could have like your 1 trainer alongside with it. You know, you could even just have general trainers as your little minifigure builds. And, you know, maybe I'm a little too maybe I'm beating a dead horse on this whole, like, everything should be minifigure based. I don't believe that entirely. I think that there is room to expand, but I'm saying is that this doesn't seem to be expanding in a meaningful way, again, tied to smart bricks, like I said. So, these are going to be interesting. I can see the Jigglypuff one selling. I can see people buying that. I don't really see anybody buying this one unless they're a big Charmander fan. And again, when you think about with kids, right, sure, some of them maybe are going to be interested in it, but, you know, let's take this into account. A good amount of kids watch YouTubers, which most YouTubers are grown adults like me who don't have anything good to say about this. And I don't want to influence anybody. If you're like, I don't know, 10 years old watching this and you think this looks cool, go ahead, use your allowance to buy it. Don't let me stop you. But generally, I don't see the reception around these being very positive. I don't see a kid in a store deciding, let me use my allowance to get the Charmander versus Geodude Lego set where their brickhead did. I can't say brickheads because that's a separate Lego line. Rather than let me use this to buy the actual play set or some of the Pokemon toys that actually move and can go with the rest of my collection of the Pokemon toys that I already have, or maybe get a Pokemon plushie because I happen to see my favorite Pokemon is a plushie right now in the store, and let me get that. Which again is at the very least, I will say that I don't think we know the prices on this. There's another tweet here that has some of the other leaks, and we're seeing here, right? This was like from a while ago, but you can see here Charmander Wild Encounter with Geodude. Here's Cubone and Gengar's Ghost Challenge. And then where's the so on and so on. But you can see here, they've got a good amount of plans. And look, hey, we even get Riolu, actually. Riolu is one of the, oh wait, Larvitar and Croagunk are there. Okay, so some Pokemon. But they are all going to generally be this build, this level, like these builds of Pokemon. Which are very, going to be polarizing. But I will say that we're getting more of these, so we'll see how everything continues to build and continues to flesh out, but we don't have the prices for these just yet. But sometimes, you know, with LEGO leaks, we'll get like the set name, the set number, the set name, sometimes the prices, sometimes the piece build. I'm not sure how all that's developing. Even these, okay. The pieces are cut off except for Jigglypuff. Jigglypuff 88 pieces. I'm assuming this is like 198. So, you know, this is probably going to be $10. This one's probably going to be $20. And I assume that this one is upwards of like 40, maybe 50. Ideally. There's definitely going to be like one big flagship set that has the Smart Brick in it. So, yeah, we'll see how all this develops. But I will say that from what we've seen today, I'm not very confident in it. Like I said, the $60 Eevee is warming shelves. The $200 Pikachu is warming shelves. You know, now, sure, now that the initial buzz around them is kind of gone and most people who wanted them from whatever limited supply there was have got them. Now that we're, you know, about a week past the whole thing going on at Target stores with Pokemon, LEGO Pokemon, the Eevee and the Pikachu are at least very available in the stores. They're hanging out there. Again, LEGO Star Wars Smart Bricks, hardly anyone's buying that. From what we're seeing, I don't have the data myself, so I can't necessarily speak to that. I can only speak to this as a consumer in a store who goes to Target at least once a week and has seen no significant movement in the shelves of these, because I do always check the LEGO aisle because, you know, like I said, you gotta look out for clearance. This was $8. So what I'm saying is that if any of these interest you, just wait a few months, they'll be on clearance.